Hey guys, this is the second time I'm filming this video because I didn't like the first one. So today I'm going to recommend to you guys 4 books that I think everybody should read, and I'm also going to tell you guys about the books that I'm reading right now. So hope you guys enjoy. Book number 1 that I recommend is Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. This is a really good book. It is a classic. It is one of those books that, or stories, I guess, like a novel, that questions the world, kind of. Let me read you the back of the book just so you can understand. One of the most haunting tales ever, Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness follows Marlowe, a riverboat captain, on a voyage into the African Congo at the height of European colonialism. Astounded by the brutal depravity he witnessed, Marlowe becomes obsessed with meeting Kurtz, a man of legendary idealism stationed further along the river. What he finally discovers, however, is a horror beyond imagining. Heart of Darkness is widely regarded as a masterpiece for its vivid study of human nature and the greed and ruthlessness of imperialism. That's what I meant, as in, like, it questions, like, humanity or whatever. It's really not that long, but it's really, really dense. Like, it's really, like, whoa. Because, like, this is how long the book is, or the novel is. This just has some, 2 other stories by Joseph Conrad. This is how big Heart of Darkness is. But it's so, like, the verbiage and the context and the ideas that are in here are just like, what? But then again, maybe I think it was like that because I read it when I was in high school, but I was a senior. But that was like 3 years ago. So, I don't know, maybe that's why, but I really, really enjoyed it. I might read it again, honestly, and I don't really read books again. Just because, I don't know, I'm like, I already read the story, I know what's going to happen, why read it again? But I might read it again. So that's the first book I recommend, Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness. The second book I recommend is The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. Let me read you the back. The Poisonwood Bible is a story told by the wife and 4 daughters of Nathan Price, a fierce evangelical Baptist who takes his family on a mission to the Belgian Congo in 1959. They carry with them everything they believe they need from home, but soon find that all of it, from garden seeds to scripture, are calamitously transformed on African soil. What follows is a suspenseful epic of one family's tragic undoing and remarkable reconstruction over the course of 3 decades as post-colonial Africa. This is another book I read at school. Actually, I read it over the summer before my senior year for AP Literature, which is what I also read this in. But I just think it's a really good book. Like, I would not have picked this book up by myself. Like, if I was at a bookstore, I would have been like, wow, that looks stupid. But after reading it, I was like, whoa, because there's a lot of dramatic irony. That's literally what all these little papers are, is like literary devices I had to find throughout the book. And look how many there are. There's so many. It's just really good. It's just really, really good, because in the beginning, you're like, oh my god, this is what it's gonna be, like this. And then at the end, you're like, wow. You're, like, pleasantly surprised. And, like, the turning points and the twists and the turns and, like, it really is suspenseful. And she completely, like, turns everything. Like, you're like, oh my gosh, this just happened. And then she flips it and you're like, what? That happened? And it's just really good. And because it's told by 5 characters, it's really, like, intricate, because not only did she write from 4 different characters, the 4 different characters are interacting with each other on a daily basis. So the mom's point of view is in one thing after a certain interaction, and then for, like, the next chapter, because it's split up into books like the Bible, like Revelations, Exodus, all those kinds of, those are literally the only 2 books of the Bible that I know the names of. But what was I saying? Yes, inside each of those books, it's like a theme, and then each chapter within the book, inside the book, is each of the people. So there was an interaction with the mom, and then the next chapter is the interaction of the mom with the daughter, and like it shows the mom's point of view, and then one of the daughter's point of view, and it's just really good. Okay, it's just really good. The next book I recommend is Outliers. This is a book for people who are kind of like self-helpy, you know. Excuse me. I'll read you the back. In understanding successful people, we have come to focus far too much on their intelligence and ambition and personality traits. Instead, Malcolm Gladwell argues in Outliers we should look at the world that surrounds the successful, their culture, their family, their generation, their idiosyncratic experiences of their upbringing. Along the way, Gladwell reveals that what the Beatles and Bill Gates have in common, the reason you've never heard of the smartest man in the world, why almost no star hockey players are born in the fall, and why when it comes to plane crashes, where the pilots are born matters just as much as how well they are trained. The lives of outliers, people whose achievements fall outside normal experience, follow a particular and unexpected logic. And in uncovering that logic, Gladwell presents fascinating and provocative blueprint for making the most of human potential. It's really interesting because it has, that rule of like 10,000 hours makes you an expert or whatever, and it kind of shows you like why the Beatles didn't just become famous because of one thing, or like the most smart man in the world didn't have a college education, and all this stuff, and I'm just like, wow. So on one hand you can be like, okay, so because I'm not born in the right place, time, era, month, whatever, I can't do certain things. But what he's trying to say is by understanding that being born at a certain time, place, surrounded by certain people, in a certain time, in a certain generation, and understanding when you were born in this, you can determine what you can be successful in. It's literally just like a science. He's like formulating how you know you can be successful in a certain thing. It's really interesting. The last book I recommend is The Four Agreements. This is a book, I'll read you the back. In the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz reveals the source of self-limiting beliefs that rob us of joy and create needless suffering. Based on ancient Toltec wisdom, the Four Agreements offer a powerful code of conduct that can rapidly transform our lives to a new experience of freedom, true happiness, and love. I read this book last year, towards the end of the year. I needed it. Like, that's pretty much all I have to say is I needed it. It's one of those books that basically says, like, how you think is how you perceive the world, and how you perceive the world is how you interpret the world, and all this kind of stuff. And it just takes these four major points that can help you live a better, happier life. Fourth agreement is try your best at everything, including the Four Agreements. Basically what he says is, as long as you're putting your best foot forward all the time, you're good, because you can't say, like, if you put your best foot forward all the time, you can't be like, oh, I wish I would have done better, I wish I would have done this, And another thing that I like when he says put your best foot forward, or like always do your best changes. Like when you're sick, your best isn't as good as when you're not sick, like it just makes sense, because a lot of people say like, oh, do your best, and it's like, but I'm sick, so I can't do my best. But you can do your best at sick. Those are the four books that I recommend. The book that I'm reading right now is, where did it go? Is this book, The Inferno by Dante. I've always wanted to read this book because it just sounds good, and I read Hamlet, I read Macbeth, I read Romeo and Juliet. I like plays, I like this kind of stuff, so I was like, why not read it? After this, I'm either gonna read, what is it called? Purgatorio, which is, Inferno is hell, and then Purgatory is, and then some other books that I'm gonna read are Quantum Theory, a graphic novel, which is literally just like a comic book about quantum theory. I have Girl on the Train that I want to read, and I have Guyland, which is the guy version of Girls and Sex. That Girls and Sex is by Peggy Ornstein, Guyland is by Michael Kimmel, and those two books have to do with what I want to do as my career of being a relationships therapist and sexologist. So when I read things, I try to read things that, lately, I've been trying to read things that will help me in my future. I know, I'm becoming an adult. It's crazy. But I am looking for books that are YA because I love YA. Like, I love young adult. I love Harry Potter, I love Twilight, I love Mortal Instruments series, I love the Percy Jackson series. But it's so hard to find good young adult novels. And I personally like series because I like having a lot to read, because then, like, it's easier to read a series because then I don't have to try to find a whole new book. I know, like, once I'm done reading the first one, I read the second one. Once I'm done reading the second one, I'll read the third one, you know? But yeah, that was my video about books. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have any book recommendations, please leave them in the comments below. I'm always looking for something new to read. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And subscribe if you haven't already. Go ahead and click that bell. And, you know, my social media is in the description down below if you want to follow me. And, yeah. See you guys later.